Gonna make a video really late. And I shouldn't be bothered with old Smiling Joe. He's not very responsive. So I don't know if there's much of a human there to have a conversation with. He just does look like he's looking out the side of his head, doesn't he? It's just all about him. So anyway, he's going to get on the subject of intent again. So he's another one of these, whatever you call them, these people who aren't consequentialists, who are somehow, what's the word for that? I forgot the term. There's a term for all these people and their philosophies. Just so irritating. But it's this idea, okay, that intent matters. It's not outcomes, it's intent. And to me, you can't separate intent from knowledge of risk. And isn't that what it's about? No one's arguing that people maliciously harm their children. It's a tiny, tiny percentage of people on earth who maliciously harm children for their own pleasure. That's not the frickin' equation. The equation is people losing their money, losing the house in Las Vegas. They don't intend to ruin their family. They don't intend to be assholes. But what they're doing is stupid. Shit.
In fact, I rather suspect I'm probably going to go out of my way once in a while to make sure, or to try to make sure, that they don't have bad lives. Does any of this make any difference? Does intent make any difference? Oh, I believe it does.
Oh, I believe it does. Yeah, well, of course it does. Of course having a malicious intent is bad. But good intentions that are based on unrealistic hopes, okay, I feel lucky. This is not a reasonable thing to live by. You don't go on joy rides saying, I feel lucky. You don't speed down the highway saying, I feel lucky. It's not an excuse. I feel lucky isn't good enough if you're going to put somebody else at risk. And so if you're going to have a kid and your intent is just, well, I intend for everything to go just fine, but I'm not going to read any books about how to raise kids, and I'm not going to bother trying to figure out and make out all the equations to figure out how to do this so I can protect myself, create a fail-safe, at least protect against doing no harm. For doctors not to do any harm, that's why they go to medical school, is to figure out how to do no harm. Because it's really hard to doctor and do no harm. And so you really have to know what you're doing. And so if it's your intent to do it and be dumb and reckless and sloppy, to ignore the fact of your genetic heritage, your age, which is another issue, the whole circumstance of your relationship, which maybe is a little bit strange and weird, okay, maybe you just saved your wife from desperation. I mean, you brought her up, not me. And you will bring her up again. Maybe she just wants a baby for her own agenda, and you don't have an opinion on that. You don't seem to want one. So here's your intent, is to sit back on the couch and say, I'm just going to let this shit happen. I'm really not going to take it all that seriously. I'm certainly not going to let it worry me. Now, if that's your intent, then yeah, that intent matters. If your intent is to ignore risk, okay, then you should be judged for that intent.
You see, the thinking that bringing a kid into this world is immoral because...
Yeah, it's not, no one uses the term immoral, so again, it's just more of this bullshit rhetoric. Okay? It's ethically unfair. It's unwarranted. It's selfish. That's what it is. It's grotesquely selfish. It's nothing else. It's not an act of reason. It's an act of selfishness. That's the intent, to satisfy selfish desires. Now you want to please your wife, apparently, and give her her baby to take care of because you want her out of your hair, apparently, and to make her as unfuckable as possible. for whatever reason. Apparently that's your intent. Idiot.
As of the possibility of suffering, implies
the possibility of failure. That's right, that the experiment goes wrong. Okay, and like the 1 million people a year who kill themselves, they kill themselves. Or like the probably 100 million who don't kill themselves but are really, 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 really not happy with being around. Not really loving existence. Just sitting around going every day, I woke up again. Fuck.
Hint. Immorality says, or unethical conduct says, you know that something is wrong and yet you do it anyway. You know that there will be bad.
You know. No, that's not what it says. It says you know the risk exists. All it is a risk calculation. Again, so you're going to argue that I feel lucky is a good enough excuse. So if I steal your house mortgage and I bet it in Las Vegas and my intent is to make you rich and me rich, it's okay because my intent was okay. It doesn't matter that I broke into your house and stole the mortgage.
Repercussions, and yet you do it anyway. It's not actually wrong to do something for the best of reasons.
Yeah, well, again, that's the lynch mob psychology, right? I mean, they have the best of reasons. Well, they killed my friend John, and they murdered him and raped his wife. So let's get them fuckers. So they have great intentions, and they have absolutely no rational judgment, and so therefore the wrong man gets killed, and they don't take any responsibility. They just say, well, that's just too bad. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some kind of crap like that. That's the insurance policy you're going to give, right? I mean, there is no risk, right? You're not going to have to pay the price. If your kid commits suicide, you'll have the little sadness. Oh, I'm sad, but my child committed suicide. You won't be thinking about the fact that you are responsible for something else's pain, and you won't be paying any extra price for it. The police aren't going to show up and say, well, you failed. The experiment went bad, and now you have to take responsibility for it. Now, I suppose there is a possibility that your child will go out and be a mass murderer. Will you take responsibility to the victims? Will you go to jail for the crime? No, I don't think you will. So your intent is to be irresponsible because irresponsibility is what the law allows. Okay, but it's not what I think fairness should allow. Fairness should make you accountable for your failure. And then maybe you'd take it seriously. Maybe then you would be fail-safe because there would be a penalty for failure. Okay, and you would have to pay the price instead of your victim paying the price for your failure.
That old thing, I don't subscribe to the belief that hell is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So yeah, it's a cliche, and you don't have to subscribe to it, but I think a rational argument can be made that very often good intentions create bad outcomes. Do you believe that? Do you believe that it's possible that in 20% or 30%, you give me a percentage of cases, that good intentions create bad outcomes because good intentions aren't contingent on good judgment. Those two things are not tied together by any requirements of law or fairness or decency. You don't have to have good judgment and good intentions. All right? And without those two being tied together, yeah, good intentions can get people into a lot of trouble. Good intentions have created a lot of psychiatric damage to people over time. Good intentioned parents meddling and controlling. Come on. You're just being totally unfair to the truth as usual.
Some people do believe that, and that's fine by me if that's what you want to believe.
Well, it's not a matter of choice, actually. I think it's just preposterous for you to say that nobody with good intentions ever acts too aggressively based on their hope, their wishful thinking, because they don't apply good judgment, because they don't have good judgment. Good intentions alone are not worth anything. If you don't have good judgment, good intentions are crap.
I don't see it that way. When we're going to talk about the morality of parenting, when we're going to talk about the morality of increasing the world's population, or just...
Yeah, the ethics of conducting reproduction experiments that create new consciousnesses in a world where basically running on chaos, that is in many respects flying right over the edge of a cliff. You have a civilization just cliff diving, just ready to teeter. A house of frickin' cards, and you're going to put a baby in it. It's the sloppiest, dirtiest, stinkingest nest, and you're going to lay an egg in it. And you're going to say it's okay because my intentions are good. Even though there's no expectation that there's little likelihood almost now. I mean, looking at the future, okay, that it's all good times ahead. All right, you're like 1929, all right, and you're singing and dancing. You're doing your little smiley face bullshit, okay, and you have no reason, no rational reason to believe the boat's going to stay afloat. And that's good intentions. And preposterously, no, it's not good intentions, because you know these facts. You know that there are some really dark clouds over the human race's future. Really dark clouds. And so you can't be called a good intending person if you're ignoring the dark clouds and you're pushing the boat into the water. I mean, I can't call that good intentions. I have good intentions. I'm putting the baby in the boat and I'm pushing it into the water. And I see the fucking clouds. Because you see them. So you're just a liar.
Adding one person to it. We've got to take into consideration intent. Again, I'm sure it does happen, but how many parents out there deliberately have kids in order to make sure that they're screwed up people when they grow?
Yeah, well, again, that's not the subject. It's about the judgment. It's about whether the judgment is reasonable, fair, conscientious, accountable to the circumstances. Will they be accountable for the outcomes? Is the consequence of the outcome something that affects them? If you're just going around prankstering, yeah, well, your pranks are funny, ha ha ha, as long as there's no victims. But that's not the subject. This isn't a victimless crime. This isn't a victimless game. And you're just pretending it is because no one's going to make you accountable. Because no force is going to come down and say you're going to pay for your fucking irresponsibility. Damn it. I mean, just amazing.
Or even as kids. Have kids for this express purpose of abusing them. None that I've met.
Yeah, well, straw man. I mean, you can't see what a preposterous straw man that is. So good intentions are good because they're not preposterously evil and malicious intentions. And so, but we don't have to talk about what's rational, what's reasonable, what's selfish, what's unselfish, what's responsible, what's irresponsible, what's conscientious, what's not conscientious, what's logical in the circumstances, what's coherent to the facts, coherent to respect for the risk. Again, you're just joyriding here, right? You haven't come up with anything else but just saying, I want to go on a joyride. You haven't made some argument that there's some other event taking place than a joyride. And it's been pointed out to you that there's a risk to joyriding, that a certain number of people will be killed by joyriders. Can you really make the argument that you don't have an intent to cause harm? You've been informed of the risk. You know the risk exists. How can your intent now be pure? It can't be pure because you're informed. Informed intent in a circumstance where risk is projected can't be called harmless intention. It can't.
And again, when you're talking ethics, intent counts.
Yeah, well, when you're a liar, though, and that's all you are, is a liar, because you're pretending that you don't know, that you're not knowledgeable, that you're just some ignorant turd who has no conception of what depression is. You have admitted you have a medical history with it. You've admitted that it's caused you great suffering and harm. That's part of your genetic character, and yet you will subject somebody to the same risk. The same risk that they won't find Buddha as a lifesaver. They might find Buddha as a laughable joke, as an insufferable silliness. And so then they'll drown. That's what you're sentencing them to. And you're doing it with this silly smiling face to boot. So, I mean, that's the insult to the injury. The injury is that you won't apply judgment because you're going to blanket yourself in some kind of pretense of good intentions. Even though you're quite aware of the risk, even though you know the risk exists, you're assigning the risk. You're going to draw a short straw. You've imagined that possibility in your mind. The short straw is possible. That your child, you have perfectly clear knowledge that your child could be born autistic or something else, and you're going to sentence it to that life. Okay, and you're going to call that a good intention. You have the knowledge of the risk. You're going to roll the dice. That can't be called a benign intention anymore. It's your intention to apply the risk, to impose the risk. And so how the hell do you make that into some sort of benign, unjudgmental, some act that's beyond judgment because you have a good intention? No, all you have is I feel lucky. I have hope. You hope that everything works out. That's all you have. You have nothing. You have fucking hope. Okay? Hope isn't good enough if you're going to fuck with somebody else's life. If you're going to fuck with somebody else. If you're going to influence somebody else. Hope isn't good enough. You got to have more than fucking hope. Alright? Even religious nuts have at least a God veil to say, well, God's will be done. God will figure it out. God will come to the rescue. You don't have that excuse, do you? Oh, I mean, geez, you're just so hideously evil. So that's it. You know, you can't keep pretending you're a well-intended person when you are covering up risk. When you're pretending risk doesn't exist. When you're pretending you don't know, that you haven't had the vision in your head. You're going out on a joyride. You have the vision in your head of a little kid walking across the street getting run over. Maybe it's only a 1 in 1,000 chance, but you know it's there. You have knowledge of it, and you're going to subject it to the risk. For what? For what? And you can't just walk away from accountability for that knowledge. Knowledge it imposes responsibility. So you can't play this I had good intentions game. Let's see. Perhaps she might have benefit from lessons in birth control. My mother abandoned me. She probably at the bar singing crazy while puffing that reefer. Lessons in birth control. I mean, interesting. So, I mean, he thinks that women don't know how not to have babies. That's why people have babies. No, assholes like you. Okay, their wife says, I want to have a baby to play with, and they just say, okay, I'm going to sit back on the couch. You'll fuck me later, right, because I gave you a baby? Or whatever the deal is. You're bargaining, you're just sitting there saying, I don't really care. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll facilitate you recklessly driving the bus of a new consciousness, even though you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Oh, you're swell. Let's see. I'm not going to bother reading that part, but I'll read the response. I think my brother would make a great dad. Yeah, well, how like again, even that whole idea that a great dad makes all the difference. No, it's kind of important. It's better than a shitty dad, but there's plenty of great people, you know, well-adjusted people, strong people, capable people who had shitty, fucking lousy, rotten parents. All right, and there's plenty of people like myself who had great parents. All right, you know, a really lucky childhood, who still come to the realization that life is goddamn stupid and resent being shoved into this nonsense. He believes otherwise, so he and his wife aren't going to have kids. Well, so your brother's a lot smarter than you, apparently. A lot more responsible. Yeah, yeah. I respect that choice and admire them both for it. Well, that's a lie. Because if you would, when you admire something, you aspire to it. Okay, admire and aspire are kind of connected words. Respect is kind of a connected word also. What things you respect are things you might want to try to achieve. Personally, I think that plenty can be done about the suffering of one's kids. Well, again, that's just what a wonderful line. You can just solve all the problems. Cystic fibrosis, no, it doesn't even exist. No worries. It doesn't matter what kind of thing shit happens. What exactly? What do you think? Did you really think that at 15 years old I couldn't give you the same argument I'm giving you right now, and that you wouldn't have anything to come back with me with? If I went to you and I said, "Hey, Dad, what the hell were you thinking? Why the fuck do you think I'd want to be caught up in this stupid, idiotic game?" I mean, really. I mean, even the relationship game. We see how people's relationships work out. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to love this girl, and then she's going to fuck somebody else, and there's some other kind of crap's going to go on, some other kind of bullshit, and I'm going to become an alcoholic. What the fuck is your expectation? I should put, 30 years in at the company for my gold watch and a $15 check? I mean, fuck you. What are you thinking, shithead? And you're not going to have an answer, but you're going to say, well, I wasn't thinking. Okay, your mother is a dumb, shitty, ignorant cunt, and she decided she wanted to have something to play with, and I said, go ahead, play with a human. Who cares? It's only a human. Go ahead and play with it. Go ahead and use it like it's a doll, like it's a fucking toy. Yeah, you don't have a counter argument, you motherfucking cunt. Shit. Plenty can be done. Plenty can be done. Yeah, that's why 1 million people a year. And most important thing is to make it clear that one cares. Well, I don't know. Is that really all that matters, huh? Somebody caring. So somebody caring is going to make it all go away. If I'm born without legs and arms, yeah, it's all okay because somebody fucking cares. Fuck you. When I was a teenager, I always thought my dad was an idiot. Well, isn't that a wonderful standard? I mean, they're just great. So you have personal experience with having a fucking idiot as a father. Alright? And you're going to subject a kid to the same damn thing because there's nothing else to say to you, Smiling Joe. I mean, if you were my fucking father, I would have gone fucking insane even sooner. Because I would have said, look at this fucking idiot. At least my father was a brilliant engineer who actually thought about serious things and lived a serious life. He wasn't some fuckwit talking absolute nonsense on the goddamn internet about Buddha and shit. God. But I believed he was doing his best. Yeah, well, he's an idiot doing his best, and that makes a difference. Well, that's just so fucking charming. So yeah, it's so much better to have a father who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, some idiot slob, and you got lucky to even survive, right? At least mine could figure out how to hook up a trailer and make sure it was safe and make sure we weren't in harm's way and all of that crap. And, never even had a car accident, because he had good judgment, okay? Maybe he wasn't Mr. I love you every 15 minutes, but he was Mr. I'm not going to drive you off a goddamn cliff, and I'm not going to put you at risk. Shit. You people so suck. When are you going to get to Philip Larkin? I don't know who the fuck that is. A crummy dad? I don't know. But I see it works against the philosophy of negligence. It's really what you're arguing. I don't intend for my child to starve to death. I just don't bother to worry about feeding him. Well, he's still making the counter argument here. Yeah, I mean, this casual. Let's just be casual. Let's not take it seriously. It's not the most serious thing in the universe, creating a human being and being responsible for its welfare. No, it's just something you do because the wifey says she wants something to play with, and so yeah. Yeah, but don't figure it out. Don't So, and that's even what he's saying partly. I mean, underneath this whole bullshit, he's pretty much saying, don't inform yourself because then you will be responsible. So don't get the facts. Don't understand what the real statistical risks are. Like you're basically going to enter your kid in 1,000 lotteries that are 1,000 to 1 odds, right? So it's going to win one of those negative lotteries. We know statistically, 1/3 of the population is on some kind of drug to get through the day, an antidepressant or some other kind of medication. This is the reality of life on fucking planet Earth. The statistics for divorces and alcoholism, all these kind of things are all, you're entered in all these lotteries. If you're not a bald fuckwit, a smiling moron, then you're a stinky fat pig. Or you can just go down, or a cranky, maker of videos on the internet. There's always some liability here, shitwits. These are monsters. How many of us come out really, really cool? What percentage of the human race is really, really cool? Be honest with yourself. Go look at the human race and what percentage of it is something you would create. You'd say, oh yeah, I would make one of those. Yeah, I'd make that guy. Oh yeah, I'd make her. Yeah, I'd do it. Come on, be realistic. Be responsible. And fucking hate people like this who preach irresponsibility. Who just say, be ignorant. Be blissfully ignorant. And do stupid things for ignorant reasons because you couldn't be bothered to take responsibility. And that's all he's doing. He's just advocating for irresponsibility through some notion of, I feel lucky. I have the best of intentions. She wants to love me, right? I could rape a woman. I could just have this good intention that, well, I think I'm going to convince her to love me. If I rape her enough times, she'll get used to it and she'll love me. I mean, what the fuck? This is just nonsense. Fucking goddamn drivel. So anyway. This is the face of evil. This is what gets the human race in such a shitty hole. Is people that have the capacity to think, they've read a few fucking books, well, they have them color coordinated, which is probably really problematic. But yeah, it just didn't go anywhere. It was just pointless. A waste of time. And look, how old are you already, fuckhead? Right? You're bald, you got gray hairs, and you're gonna have a baby. A baby. So you're gonna be committed to 20 years of growing that person up. And by the time he's 20 years old, how the fuck old are you going to be? 70? 65? Oh, just let it go, asshole. Grow up. Grow the fuck up. People. So anyway, enough of a video. Whose life? Yeah, look, it's a wonderful life. Yeah. The bank scene, the run on the bank scene. Yeah. But really, you can't figure out that there's just a million scenarios, and that you just can't keep playing this game like all I'll do is imagine the lucky ones. And I won't take any responsibility for the bad ones. If the bad happens, well, too bad. I'll write a check. I'll care. I'll care. That'll make it all okay, because I'll care. Yeah, I can just imagine how much you'll really care. I don't think you're capable of really caring anymore. I don't know what Buddha did to you, okay? But he obviously raped your soul, because you can't care about anything anymore, quite obviously. All you care about is you. That's it. That's all. What makes you comfortable? What makes you happy? What makes you able to keep dancing on it? And that's all there is. There's just you. And you're going to talk to me about caring. I don't think you're capable of it. Ooh. shivers and chills.